We're joined right now by Sammy Spring Training. So, Sammy, do you have a romantic evening planned there in Peoria, Arizona?
Yes, I'm going to be eating the pre-made salads that I bought yesterday.
That's hot.
They're sitting in the fridge. Maybe come home, dine on one of those, maybe enjoy a nice glass of seltzer, something like that. So very romantic, yes, here in the Airbnb for sure.
Salad and seltzer.
Sexy. Sexy salad and sexy seltzer. You know, it's
Well, see, maybe I'll go out. I'll go out for dinner because I bought these salads with the purpose of bringing them to the complex because I forgot, and I'm very quickly reminded my first few days here in Peoria. A lot's going on. Like I barely, and I'm really not exaggerating here. I barely have time to eat if I don't want to miss something or get some video on the backfields.
Yeah.
And really, once we get going and Clubhouse opens, and it's been a little bit later here, you know, it's 9:50 local time today, so a little bit later than I think what it's going to be as we get into full squad workouts. But, you know, you're going till 3, 4 o'clock. So anyway, the pre-made salads are really for lunch purposes. I got one in my bag already, so maybe I'll go out for dinner. We'll see.
You know, Sammy, romance is a state of mind. You can make anything romantic if you want to. Our pal Sammy Levitt joins us from spring training. I got to give Ben a little credit here because as I'm watching the coverage these last few days, we had a discussion amongst ourselves. When do we want to go out to spring training? I think we may cancel our trip now. All the questions have been asked. I don't know that I want to go out and reiterate a bunch of questions to these guys in 2 weeks. You guys, you're doing such a great job out there. Again, we're not going to have anything left to ask, Sammy. So, I mean, like everybody's talking to Manny about soda. It was great info that you gave us yesterday. I thought that was really, really good. I've loved your coverage so far. So continue killing it out there. What are you kind of looking forward to today? What's the plan?
Yeah, I mean, look, today it's going to be more bullpens. You know, the guys who threw bullpens the other day are scheduled to throw again today, so I'll read you off the list here. I know it's Joe Musgrove. It is Adrian Morajón. It's Michael King, who looked really good the other day, and Yotza Los Santos, Johnny Brito, Wusa Go, Alec Jacobs. So the group that threw the other day, it's pretty much alternating right now. So that's what's going on. I'm sure there'll be more work. I mean, you know, right now it is basically, you know, the organized events that are actually on the schedule are for the pitchers and catchers, and then everybody else is sort of, I think, doing their own thing. But to their credit, I mean, Manny's here. Fernando got here yesterday and was out there taking swings and looked great. And Jay Cronenworth and Ha-Sung Kim. So a lot of guys are here early. We'll see. I'm sure Xander Bogaerts will be here. Who knows, maybe today, tomorrow, whatever it might be. Just to recap kind of yesterday what I thought was really interesting. You know, I had told you guys yesterday that I saw Manny taking ground balls and not making the throws to anywhere really. And so yesterday, after everybody's done hitting, Manny starts throwing a ball up against the chain link fence and the padding down the line, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, you know, this must be what he can do. And then Manny did that for a couple of minutes and then walked over to the other field and all of a sudden is playing catch with Jake Cronenworth. And my goodness, I'm right there and I'm looking at him saying, looks good to me, looks pretty normal to me. I was like, well, there's no way he's throwing a first base yet, right? And lo and behold, he goes out to third base, starts taking ground balls, and he's throwing it to first base. Looks pretty good. And he did it over and over and over again. So I thought that was really impressive. Obviously, you'd imagine it's a good sign for where he's at and the potential of him playing third base, in short order here. So we'll see when Manny spoke later, and I'm not sure what you played so far on the show today, but when he spoke later, he talked about it, you know, being a matter of what, you know, the arm can take right now. And it sounds like it, for as much as you would think the velocity might be part of it, it sounds like the everyday repetition of throwing is also part of it. So I didn't get clarity on this, but I'm wondering if you know, right now there's days he throws, days he doesn't throw. But that was certainly something that stood out to me yesterday. But certainly good to hear Manny speak yesterday. He said a lot of interesting things. And to your point, Woodsy, I think as far as the questions for these guys, look, you know, once we get out of the first week or so here, I don't know how much longer you can ask him about A, last season, or B, guys who aren't here anymore.
Man.
And by the way, they are fair questions, absolutely, to Joe, to Juan Soto, Manny Machado, to Fernando Tatis Jr. I'm sure when he has a kind of a big media scrum at some point in the next couple of days, they are fair questions. But I'm with you in the sense of I think you're going to have a week to ask him here, or whatever time frame you want to put on it, and then it's kind of it's going to be moving on time.
Yeah,
and,
we're going to just spin the topic wheel with them, I think, in every interview. So, what's your favorite movie, Jake?
Right, and
right?
I think right, and I think what's interesting about this spring training compared to last year is last year there was so much focus on what the big four would do: Tatis, Bogarts, Soto, Machado, and certainly there's focus on now the big three, what they're going to do. But there are so many very legitimate questions about this roster, the outfield, all these different things that we continue to talk about, that we've talked about for quite some time, that, I don't know that the main focus is on those three guys. And, we know who they are and we know what they're likely to do. And we understand the context of this season when you think about what happened last year. So it's a different spring training, different set of storylines. But hey, good to hear Manny talk yesterday, and we continue on.
Sam Levitt joins us from Padres spring training in Peoria, Arizona. Sam, I know there's no guarantees, but my takeaway from A.J. Preller yesterday was that there is another move coming, at least one. Whether it's a trade or a free agent signing, he's going to do something here before the end of spring training. Did you get that sense as well?
Yeah, look, there's no guarantees, right? But he certainly didn't shut it down when he was asked yesterday. I mean, he talked about the flexibility, and it certainly sounds like that flexibility may not just be about the opening day roster, but potentially later in the year when you talk about the CBT number and all those different sorts of aspects. Because, I do think there is a scenario where, okay, maybe there is a move left, but maybe it's not something that's, going to be huge. Well, if this team is in contention come August, are there moves to be made? And can you maintain some of that flexibility as you get deeper into the year? Yeah. But I'm with you, Ben. He didn't shut it down. It certainly sounds, and I thought AJ, was, you don't always get a ton from him publicly, but I thought he was, pretty upfront yesterday saying that, there are discussions going on, and he talked about trade discussions, and obviously there are things still going on behind the scenes. And I think you got to assume that too, because look at the market. I mean, look at these guys that haven't signed yet. I mean, there's so much going on across the sport right now. So I'm with you, Ben. I thought it was pretty clear that there are still things going on behind the scenes. Whether those things come to fruition, whether it's something super significant, to be seen. But I'm with you. I thought it was pretty clear that, in all likelihood, there's at least some sort of move left to be made.
Talking to our pal, Sammy Spring Training out live at Padres Spring Training in Peoria, Arizona. Jackson Merrill is another guy you got a chance to catch up with yesterday. I think we're probably going to play some of that audio later in the show, but just kind of give us your impressions of him. Did see some video of him working out in the outfield as well. I think, a position like that, like, hey, kid, you have a chance to make this team. He's like, sure, put me anywhere. I mean, I just want to be a big leaguer. What were your impressions of Jackson?
Yeah, I didn't see him play with my own two eyes in the outfield yesterday. Darnay Tripp, he scooped me.
That's all right. Darnay will get you sometimes.
I love Darnay, but he has a cameraman too, so there's a little advantage there. So I was not out there when Jackson was working out there. At least I didn't notice it. But with that said, we did talk to him in the clubhouse, and I thought there were a couple of takeaways from that yesterday. Number one, I think he is very, very open-minded about this entire situation. There was nothing he said that would indicate that he is intimidated by the possibility of playing the outfield and playing there every day. And it's clearly something that he has worked on going back to last season, as we know, and was a big part of his off-season work. I think there's a clear mentality where he wants to be versatile and he wants to do what it takes, and I don't say this in a cliche way, but do what it takes to somehow make this team. So look, he appears really accepting of that, which I which I think is really good. So, look, I thought he seemed really confident and calm and has that maturity about him, just like we talked about with Ethan Salas the other day. It's funny. I went back and watched the interview I did with him last year. I thought he seemed maybe just a little bit more comfortable and confident this time around. And that makes a ton of sense because he was in that major league clubhouse last year. If you remember, he played a ton during spring training last year because of the WBC. So he's not walking into that clubhouse for as young as he is. This is not his first time going through this and going through a major league spring training and being in the clubhouse with these guys. And I think obviously, like he alluded to, the big difference between last year and this year is that last year, I think we all understood it was just supposed to be a good experience for him to get him ready for his own minor league season. This year, he has a very legitimate shot to make this team as currently constructed out of spring training and make it as somebody who could play the outfield every day. So I thought he handled everything well. I did not see the work in the outfield, but I came away, as I have been with Jackson, impressed, and he certainly seems to understand what's in front of him. And I think, too, and I had asked him about his offense because there's been so much focus on the defensive side in this transition to the outfield. But I think it's important to remember, and he said, offensively he feels good, but it's important to remember, the offensive part of it is really the thing. And that's not to say that you want him to be a liability in the outfield. But if he can hit major league pitching in a month, then he can hit major league pitching in a month, and I don't think you're going to focus, all that much on the defense. It's important, but let's not forget about the offensive side. He's got to hit, and he's got to be ready for that part of it. So, I know this is a long answer, but when you talk about A.J. Preller, too, one of the things I'd asked A.J. about was how do you balance with guys like Merrill, Marcy, Paulie, the needs you have right now on the roster versus their development. And I thought A.J. made it pretty clear that they're not going to rush guys if they're not ready, which I think is a really good answer because I don't think the Padres should do that. Like if there's a scenario where, hey, Jurickson Profar's got to play left field for a couple of months until you feel like Merrill or one of these guys is ready, that's something you have to consider because I don't think they should be rushed. So I thought that was an encouraging answer from AJ. And but look, Jackson seems up for the challenge and up for the opportunity and understands what's in front of him, no doubt.
Before you go, Sam, we have Stephanie Daly, who's a relationship dating blogger, content creator, joining us in studio later in the show. Do you have any questions? Relationship questions that we can ask Stephanie
write
for you.
one down.
Any relationship questions?
If you think of one, you can put it in the chat, Sammy.
I can put it in the chat. I can text you. No, because I have it all figured out.
Yeah.
I'm in a very
Sammy
good,
healthy
relationship. To be honest with you, for all the listeners out there, it's the first, it's first real relationship I've really ever had. And it's going very nicely. So I think everything's good. I've learned some things, certainly learned that, you got to consider certain things and
like other people's
understand
feelings and stuff.
Understand that there are things that are
important. Is that a problem?
Right. No, not at all.
Okay.
She met me during baseball season, so she gets it. But you got to understand there are certain things that are important to the other person that may not make sense to you initially.
Right.
But because they're important to the other person, they've got to be important to you. So I've learned a lot of lessons lately, and good lessons and important lessons. And quite frankly, gentlemen, it was time for me to grow up a little bit and start learning that life is about more than me.
That's exactly
life is
right.
about more than Sam Levitt.
That's exactly right.
Our young man is all grown up.
She listens to the program quite often, so she's probably listening right now. Happy Valentine's Day.
She's a sweet angel. We met her. She's just fantastic. So,
Sammy, have a good day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye, Sammy.
There he is, Sam Levitt, Sammy Spring Training.